Walking your puppy on a loose leash, no tugging or reacting to stimulus, is one of the most desirable behaviors for every puppy owner. But unfortunately, a tiny percentage of puppy owners ever achieve this goal. The main reasons are improper technique, lack of training, and the wrong equipment. My new book, Leash Training Your Puppy, will teach you a simple and effective method for loose leash walking. You can get it right now on Amazon using the link in the show notes. It's Leash Training Your Puppy. Available now in Kindle ebook, paperback, and audiobook on Amazon. I'm Dale Buchanan, and this is Puppy Talk, the podcast that offers free advice and tips for raising a happy, healthy, and obedient puppy. For more information on this podcast, visit us online at puppytalkpodcast.com. Welcome to Puppy Talk episode number 106. Today I want to discuss the difference between service dogs, therapy dogs, and emotional support animals. This information I'm getting directly from the American Kennel Club. That's the AKC website. I will put a link of this article in the show notes. In this article, they also talk about working dogs. I am not going to discuss that in this episode because most of the calls that I get are people that are confused between an emotional support animal, or ESA, a therapy dog, and a service dog. So we're going to go through all three of those right now. A service dog, as defined by the ADA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act, are individually trained to perform specific tasks and to work with people with disabilities. According to the ADA, disabilities can be physical, sensory, psychiatric, intellectual, or other mental disabilities. The work of the service dog must be directly related to the handler's disability. Here are a few examples. Guide dogs that help blind people navigate in the world. Hearing or signal dogs alert deaf people to sounds such as a knock at the door or a person entering the room. Psychiatric dogs are trained to detect and lessen the effects of a psychiatric episode. Service dogs help those in wheelchairs or who are otherwise physically limited. Autism-assisted dogs are trained to help those on the autism spectrum. Some service dogs that are trained to recognize seizures will stand guard over their owners during a seizure or go get help. What rights do service dogs have? The ADA mandates that service dogs have full public access rights, which means they're allowed to go places where animals are typically forbidden. They can be brought into restaurants, stores, libraries, and other public spaces. They must be permitted in housing, even if other pets aren't allowed. Service dogs are also allowed on airplanes and other public transportation. One thing I want to mention is that there are a lot of fake service dog certifications out there. If you want to know what goes into breeding and training a service dog, what the process is, and how long it takes, I highly encourage you to watch this new documentary on Netflix called Inside the Mind of a Dog. It is absolutely mind-blowing how this documentary takes you through the process of breeding dogs specifically to be service dogs, taking them away from the mother and the litter mates at 8 weeks, putting them in an extensive 2-year training program, and even then, only a small percentage of those dogs can become service dogs and are assigned to an individual for their specific needs. So not all dogs can be service dogs. If you look online and you get a certification that requires no training, it's not a service dog certification. It's a fake certification, and it might at best be a certification for an ESA, emotional support animal, which I'll get to in just a second. What is a therapy dog? Therapy dogs play a different helping role than service dogs and emotional support animals. They aren't trained to live with a specific handler. Rather, these are dogs that, with their human teammate, usually the dog's owner, volunteer in clinical settings. These locations include hospitals, mental health institutions, hospices, schools, and nursing homes. These dogs provide comfort, affection, and even love in the course of their work. Therapy dogs are trained to be comfortable in new environments and to interact with different people. They have to have a calm temperament. They can't bark, jump, pull on the leash, and they are unfazed by unfamiliar noises and movements. And they're also comfortable being handled, and they love people. Dixie, my dog, is a therapy dog. She's 4.5 years old now. She got tested and certified last year, almost exactly a year ago, to be a therapy dog. She gives therapy wherever she goes. If I take her into a store, if I take her to a flea market, sometimes I take her to assisted living communities, and she gives therapy to every single person that she interacts with. Whenever she goes in public, she's always working for the other people. She's always giving them emotional support. She's always giving them love, and she's always under control, very calm, and lets everybody pet her. She is probably one of the best therapy dogs that I've ever seen. She's so good at it, and it is her job, it is her calling, this is what she loves to do. Keep in mind that not all dogs want to be therapy dogs. In addition, therapy dogs don't have many legal rights. Although they're defined as comfort dogs and often used in therapeutic settings, therapy dogs aren't considered service dogs under the ADA. Therefore, they don't have the same legal rights to access public spaces. There are no uniform state or national rules that regulate and certify therapy dogs. The organization that I went through for Dixie is considered one of the best. They are the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, or ATD. I'll put a link of their website in the show notes. Emotional support animals, or ESA, or emotional support dogs, don't have any specific training that they have to go through to get a qualification of an emotional support animal. They're considered companion animals and can ease anxiety, depression, some phobias, and loneliness. In order to be considered an emotional support dog, a mental health professional must prescribe the ESA for the patient with a diagnosed physiological or emotional disorder, such as anxiety disorder, major depression, or panic attacks. What rights do emotional support animals have? Unlike service dog owners, ESA owners have only limited legal rights. Those rights typically require a letter of diagnosis from the owner's doctor or psychiatrist. While they don't have unlimited access to public spaces, the Fair Housing Act mandates reasonable accommodations for emotional support animals, even in buildings that don't allow pets. For example, in the apartment community that most people live in, they're going to have breed restrictions, such as you can't have a German Shepherd or a Rottweiler or Akita or other breeds that they consider aggressive. You can get emotional support animal certification from your psychiatrist, and they're pretty easy to get to overcome that obstacle. Some HOAs, especially in condos, have regulations against dogs, period, and you can overcome that by having a certification from your psychiatrist as your dog being an emotional support animal. Usually this works, sometimes it doesn't. It's always a legal issue, and you have to present the facts that you need this dog in your life to survive. Keep that in mind when you have to go through this process if you ever do. In review, there's 3 types of dogs that I get called for a lot. People don't really understand what the difference is between the 3, but I hope I cleared it up. We've got service dogs, therapy dogs, and an emotional support animal or emotional support dog. All 3 are different, but they do have some similarities. The one thing that you want to make sure of before you try to get your dog to be any of these 3 is make sure the dog is willing to do it. If you want your dog to be a therapy dog and go places and give therapy to other people, that's a job for the dog, and the dog has to voluntarily want to do it. They have to be willing to do it. They can't be forced into it. If they're not interested, then they're not going to be a therapy dog. Not every dog is qualified to be one of these 3 dogs. And this is the biggest misconception that a lot of people have when they contact me and they want their dog to be one of these specialty dogs. They may not be the the right breed, they may not have the right temperament, and it may not be a good fit. So you have to keep that in mind when seeking the route of a specialty training for your puppy or dog. I hope this information was helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can contact me through the website, puppytalkpodcast.com. Have a great day. This is Dale Buchanan, host of Puppy Talk Podcast. I have an announcement of a new book that I just published called Potty Training Your Puppy. It's available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback, soon to be available on audiobook. You can find out all the details of this book using the link in the show notes. It's called Potty Training Your Puppy. It's a comprehensive book with a simple and effective way to help potty train your puppy, and it really works. Check out the link in the show notes.